Well, again, thanks for coming. We
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
So, you want to share anything about yourself and your company and some of your people that you have?
Yeah. Well, amazing people are the key, right, to any successful person. So I
Can you
think
hear us okay? Okay.
so having the right people is obviously how you grow a big business. Wrong people, small business or no business at all. So it's just been a process over the last 22 years. So I started this really in about 2006. I got licensed in 2001, and just learning all the ins and outs. And I think having an education, like always being being in education, being educated, like nobody knows everything about everything, no matter what profession that they're in. So always looking to other people to learn more and then obviously teach. Like that's kind of my passion, is to teach other agents how to become very successful.
Yeah. So, if you had to identify two key factors for success, not only in the real estate market, because it transfers over to some of the stuff we're doing as we build contracts and everything. I mean, I have Aisha here, who's our Director of Administrative Services, along with Josh, who's our Director of Operations, and they oversee primarily the contracts. What advice can you give in the construction of relationships?
Construction of relationships. So it's all about the follow-up, right? Listen more than you talk, I guess.
Yeah.
Making sure that the needs of the person that you're talking to are being addressed. Everybody has different needs, and your interpretation may be different than what they're trying to tell you. So reiterating, is this what you want? What do you like? What do you not like? So as you and I were walking through homes, I always said, don't be afraid to tell me what you don't like and what you do like, because the more that we know, the easier it is to find that perfect home. Building relationships, it's having that trust, honesty. I mean, the hiring process is the longest process that we have. It takes a long time to get our people through their questionnaires. We do personality tests. I mean, it's a long process. It's not come in, interview, and we hire you. So making sure that you have that right personality that fits with you and fits obviously with the team.
Do you find this more challenging today in 2025 than you did a decade ago?
I do.
Why?
I'm not sure there's much drive as there used to be. I think hard work was just something that was instilled in us from the beginning, and I think finding people who want to work hard and want to build something big is dwindling. I think there are people out there, obviously I have them, that want to build big business and want to build those relationships. But a lot of people want to go to work 8 to 5 and stop. And in our business, you're at work 7 days a week, all the time. Like I shut off the phone around 8, but.
Yeah. So one of the things we find is trying to create a team. You know, we have great supervisors. I'm so proud of every man and woman that's in here. But the team, how do you maintain it? You may create it. How do you maintain the longevity and the inspiration to keep people? And you may have some of the same issues we have. Our pay is less, okay, for security operators, supervisors. If we could get our pay up for everybody, that'd be the greatest accomplishment that we could ever do specifically. So people come, people go. Josh has been here almost 9 years. Aisha's been here 5. We have many that have been here 3 to 5, some to 7 years. How do you inspire those people to stay other than money?
I think you have to look at the bigger vision. Like, do we all have the same vision? Are we building a big business together? Money is great for what it can do for you, right? So we have some of our agents want to buy homes. That's their goal. Some of them want to take their kids on a Disney vacation. Some want to build more investment. So I think knowing what is their big why, what do you want in your life and how can we get you there? Because sometimes it's not about money. Sometimes it's the freedom to go get your kid at 3 o'clock and take him to volleyball and then go back to work later on. So what is driving them besides money? Because money is not everything. Right. I mean, relationships to me are more important than the money. I mean, the money's great. It will come. I always say treat people the way you want to be treated, and the money will always follow you. Never get wrapped up in trying to get a deal done, because it's not the right thing to do. Always do the right thing, and the money always comes. So what is the motivation? Is it, I want to come, I'm not a morning person, I want to come in at 10 o'clock. Like, what is it? And then find those things and then work on that.
Okay, I think that's excellent. I think that's good. Do you have a quality control for your agents or is it just based on performance?
No, yeah, we have quality control.
What's your quality control? Describe that.
We have a process for everything. I tell everybody when you come in, there's a process from the minute you pick up the phone until basically even after we close the contract. So quality control is all about systems, right? What works and what doesn't work, and you have to follow the system. If I'm doing things one way and somebody else is doing it differently, then we're gonna have an issue most likely, because what we do works. We know that. We do it 200-300 times a year, so we know it's very successful. But making sure that everybody is following that same system and that we all have the same level of integrity. I think that's really important in real estate, to make sure that you're not selling a house to sell a house, that that's really something that somebody needs. Sometimes it's not a great decision for somebody to sell their house or to buy a home. Like, there's times I've said, I don't think right now is probably the best time to do this. Let's talk about some other options. But it's all systems from the minute you walk in until the minute, really even after closing. Usually we text you about every 6 months to see how you're doing. Yeah.
Let me ask you about the resistance from employees. Do you have pushback from your staff often, or do you run it like, is she a tough boss? Yeah. Talk about that a little bit. I mean, I assume you set expectations and you give people the freedom to meet them, and if they don't, it's worth a conversation.
Exactly. So I'm not a micromanager. I feel like everybody that I hire, I don't enjoy it, right? I want to hire people that I've trusted to take it, and sometimes they're like, this system doesn't work, we need to reevaluate it, and that's what I enjoy, because everything changes, it's growth. We have had to let people go, because if they can't do things the right way, then they can't be with me. That's just, my reputation is everything. None of the other stuff matters without a great reputation. So yes, when they push back, we have a conversation. Why? Like, why are you saying this? Why do you think it doesn't work? And then let's walk through the process and see if we can fix it. Because there may be a specific reason we're not doing it, because I've done it so many times before. We know if we do this, this is what happens here. So I'm always open to the conversation to see if we can improve. We always give them a chance to improve. If they can't improve, then we have to let them go.
So you do a lot of analytics then, and you have predictable outcomes.
Yes.
Do you have predictable outcomes for clients individually or based on their economic status? So if a guy's making, and a couple is making $150,000, $200,000 a year, in their debt ratio to their income ratio, you can predict pretty much whether there's going to be a sale or not?
Normally, yes, if both of them are on the same page. So the pre-qual is the key to where are we going, right? Because you may
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, you may have a lot of money and terrible credit, so you're not going to be buying, you're going to be renting. You may be going through a divorce. Divorce really affects
I'm aware of that.
your credit and things like that. So, or it takes half of your cash away, right? So the key is really going, again, the process. You want to buy a house, great. Let's get you to a great lender and let's see where you're at, and then let's move from there. Because then we know what kind of loan do you need. Are you a veteran? We're going to use a VA loan. Are you FHA? Do you have a lot of money down? Are we going to do a duplex where you're going to live in one side and rent the other? Like, is it income property? So all those things are precursors to the direction that we're going to get you to a successful closing. So talking to a lender who knows what they're doing is the first process. They're going to go through your income. They're going to go through your debts. They're going to say, okay, maybe if we sell this and clean this up, then you qualify for this amount of money. But we have to know where you're at first If you qualify for 200 and want to live in Pueblo West, it's probably not going to happen. If you qualify for 500,000, you could probably live anywhere you want, in town. So I think it's a huge, because it sets the expectation. If you come to me and say, I want to live in Pueblo West for 200,000, we're going to have to sit down and say, let's look at what's on the market for 200,000 in Pueblo West, and then let's talk about, is that really where you want to be? And then let's look at some other options. So, and I think too, people being on the same page is the key. Like, you'll have a husband and a wife, and sometimes they're not agreeing, or spouses or partners, and one wants this and the other wants that. We really have to say, okay, what's the things that you guys really want together? Let's start there, and then let's see the other things that maybe we could get.
Yeah, makes sense. And feel free to raise your hand, ask any questions at any point if someone has a question.
Jimmy, I got a
Go ahead,
question for you.
Walter.
For especially young adults who've kind of messed up their credit rating, what's some of the easiest ways they can rebuild their credit rating to possibly qualify for a better loan?
So as far as credit goes, I always send them to the expert, which is the lender, right? So that would be any of our lenders, you would call us. But a lot of times it's paying things on time. I don't know why people just don't say this is the due date and it's got to be there before then. Especially now, none of them carry a checkbook or anything. They just do everything electronically. So one of the biggest factors when they're looking at it, are you paying your things on time? Because are you paying your rent? Are you paying your credit cards? Are you paying your car payment? Those types of things. If they don't have any established credit, then we need to get them either a credit card that has a limit on it that they start utilizing and make sure that they can pay it off. So there's several different avenues that they can go to do that. But yeah, pay your bills and pay them on time. And don't get crazy with cars. I see a lot of young people come in and they have the nicest car, $100,000 car, $80,000 car, and they can't afford to buy a house. And a car is a depreciating asset, so, real estate is not, and that is where I would say the majority of my wealth is once you get the assets, then the cars come along with it. We've had this conversation with my kids, is that I didn't start here. This is the finish line. So when you're younger, just making sure that you're keeping your costs down, because once you get a house, then that's where all your money's at. Once you're a homeowner, that's about, they say it's roughly, I think, $150,000, $250,000, depending where you're at, that you're financially stronger than you are if you rent. So a homeowner to a renter has about $150,000 worth of net worth than a renter does. So it's really important to purchase a house when you're young. Jay purchased his at, I think it was 19. When people are like, your 19-year-old's going to buy a house? I said, absolutely. And I think he's on his third now in his second investment, and he's 27.
Yeah, because that's one thing we've talked about. A lot of our operators, especially young operators, they have no financial skills.
Right.
They're actually coming to Mr. Corsentino asking for gas money at times to get the post. And it's just like, and then they are driving the $60,000 BMW.
Yes. That's where so I love teaching those type of classes. I love taking kids, young adults, and saying, okay, here's where your money's going. If you took this and you bought a house, you bought a duplex, lived in one side, rented the other, here's your income stream that's coming in, and in 2 years, you can go buy another one. Just showing them how that works. So we paid our house off. What we did is we bought the worst house on the block. Every 2 years we moved. So we'd fix it up the 2 years we were there. Every 2 years we'd move, we'd get the credit, and our house is paid free and clear. And it's been paid for probably at least 10 years. So, but it's all that financial, like looking ahead of like, how can we do this to make more money in the future? And real estate is an appreciating asset most of the time. So I just tell people, as long as you don't have to move in 3 to 5 years, you're not going to be like in that normally, because normally a recession doesn't last as long as the last one. It's going to last for a couple years. So normally you see 2 years of up, 2 years of really down, and then about 6 years of let's figure it out. So as long as you don't have to sell that asset in 3 to 5 years, like military, if you're going to get relocated, it's depending what the market's doing, may be the right time or not the right time to purchase if we have to sell it in 2 to 3 years, 2 to 5. Then, man, and once it goes up, then you sell it, take your cash, and go buy another asset. And then in no time, now you have 4 doors instead of 1.
So I have a question. Does that formula apply to commercial also? Because I have a dream, as they say. I want to, at some point, get out of the investigation security business. I want to be the laundromat king.
Yeah, me too.
I want to own laundromats all over, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it. So I had this thought, I have a buddy, and he says, well, just go to the bank, and they're going to loan you so much money, go buy a laundromat, and you just have to make the mortgage payment. I assume it's still 20% down based on the ratio.
Yeah, 20 to 25, yeah.
Yeah, 20, 25 down. You're still going to make the monthly mortgage payment on the business. But is commercial a lot different than residential?
Commercial is usually based not only on the value of the building, but the value of the income coming in, so the rental income. So if you own the laundromat, they're going to say, okay, what does a laundromat bring in a year to help you qualify for that particular property?
Yeah.
So, so that's usually the difference. If you're buying a vacant building, then it's going to be building to building. That's what they're going to match it to. But yes, by businesses. Right now, they say that that's going to be the biggest takeover in commercial business right now because a lot of people are getting ready to retire. Sorry, the boomers. The boomers are getting ready to retire, and their kids don't want their business, right? Their kids want to go do their own thing, so they don't want to take over their business. Well, now is a great time to buy a business that's already established, maybe make payments, maybe have them own or carry it. There's all different types of options. But maybe own or carry it, and then you run the business, and then they slowly get the income over time because they don't want to be taxed on the full amount right away. So it's a really good way to buy a business. I'll buy as many businesses as I can as long as they're making money, or we can improve what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times they have a bad process, or they're not utilizing everything that they could in that business to make it generate more income.
Got it. So let's talk about what we do. How do you prepare your agents to be aware of their personal safety in relationship to being out, going out, meeting strangers who they don't know? Is there any type of effort made to Google this person and do background on who you're dealing with so it's not a serial killer?
Yes.
And you send your son out, even though he's a handsome big guy, 6'9", and you have a midget that comes in and he's a serial killer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. It'd be bad for the midget that day, but no, I'm kidding. So we have Forewarn app, which is one of the things that we can utilize. So when they call in and they just want to meet us at a property, that's not an option. We ask them to meet us in the office because we want to see them. We want to physically see them, especially our women. Not that they can't hold their own, but women are a little more, I would say, in danger in ours because you're in a vacant house by yourself. So we ask them to come in so that we can meet them. If they won't do that, then we ask them to send us their driver's license. And if they won't do that, then we don't go.
Good.
Like, nothing's worth their safety. Like, there's not a house out there. There's not enough money. It doesn't exist. So, and if they don't feel comfortable about it, then usually we have one of our male agents go with them. But we do use the Forewarn app, and there's been times, honestly, I'm like, oh no, this could go south really quick.
Have you had situations where there's been a potential client that was shady?
Yes, so I have had people where they've wanted to meet us at a vacant building, and this is like 2008 when they were all vacant. And I was like, something just doesn't set right. Like, there's just something not right about this. And so I parked down the street and waited for them to come, and then they never came. So my gut was probably right. Most likely they were driving by as well, but I didn't see them. We have had, not us personally, but the association has had where women have been attacked in the home. And sexually assaulted. And so you do have to be aware. I recommend they carry pepper spray, concealed carry. Absolutely.
Absolutely. You never know what you're going to run into.
Yes.
So what's the biggest challenge in the real estate industry today?
The biggest challenge today is going to be interest rates. I would say they're around 7%. I think they dropped a little bit yesterday. But when they drop into the fives, I think we're going to be really busy again. But you don't think 2% is a lot until you put it on a house payment, and then you're like, holy cow. Right. So I think right now rates, and then just getting people to get comfortable again. So is there a bad time to buy a house? Probably not. I mean, I wish I would have bought 10 more houses 10 years ago, because that would have really changed my trajectory. But if you need to live somewhere and you're renting anyways, to me, why would you not pay yourself? Mm-hmm. So I think the only time it's bad, when you shouldn't own a house, is if you can't take care of it. Like if you really, you don't want to maintain the furnace, you don't want to, if you have an electrical problem, you don't know what to do. My mother, she'll never own a house. She always wants to rent because she wants to call somebody to fix something. Yeah. So.
The landlord.
Yeah. So I bought it, and now I'm her landlord. So yeah.
Yeah. How easy is that, right?
Yeah.
Honey, come over.
Yeah.
Great.
The good news is my brother's amazing, so he helps me a lot.
Underperforming employees, we kind of hit on that a little bit, but I want to go back to that. One of the issues, and I think Walter can attest to this, and my supervisors, sometimes we have good people, but they're just not in the game. Mm-hmm. And I know they have personal issues. Life is life. Yeah. But trying to connect them. Do you have individuals in the real estate that just want to get the license, but they're not high performers, which impacts, and you said you went through a very intensive screening process. One thing I'm interested in is the personality side of it. Tell us a little bit more about that, because we're talking about doing psychologicals on some of our people right now, starting with me.
Yeah. Exciting. I can't wait to hear the results.
It's not good, trust me. But go ahead.
We do a KPA, which is Keller Williams' version of like a DISC test. Like what's their natural personality? Is their natural personality, to be, I'm a high D, high I. I like things very fast. I don't want a long story. I want you to just tell me what we need to do and let's get it. Other people in on our team are more SCs, so they want me to say, good morning, how are you today? And a lot of times I forget to say that. So slowing down and knowing how their personality works, and then making sure that I'm trying to be conscious of it. Aaliyah's great at telling me, you could have started the email with good morning, and I was like, dang, I didn't even think about that. I was just in the process of doing that. So their KPA tells you what their natural tendency to do is. So it's very hard to lie because there's so many questions that they ask on here. And so I'm not going to say, oh yes, please tell me how, I say God invented dirt. I don't want to know. I just want you to give me the highlights. So with them knowing that that's my personality, don't come in and sit down and want to start from scratch.
Amen.
Yes.
Sometimes I come across as harsh.
I do too.
And another word could be rude, but I don't mean to be. It's just like time is so precious, That's why I got divorced a couple of times, is because I used to say, you live in my world, I don't live in your world. Well, that didn't work out so.
Probably not. Yeah.
So anyway, that changed things. But
Yes.
I try and do it here, and it's not working out here.
Yeah. So then you shouldn't be the one probably managing the people. Maybe somebody who does like to hear their stories and go through it. Maybe you're just managing the one person.
Well, I just like to manage the problems.
Yeah. And that's usually what I get to. I usually get the problems, not everything else.
Yeah. So that works out well. Yeah, other questions? Josh, you have any thoughts, anything at this point? No? Aisha, anything? No, we're good?
I think disc tests are really great, though, to start with, because I can tell you when we've tried to hire outside of that, where it tells us this isn't their natural personality is what we need. We know what we need in an admin, and we know what we need in an agent, which is not the same thing. They don't like the same things. Agents don't like a lot of paperwork. They are more out in the field. They want to negotiate deals, right? And they like people. Admin like paperwork. They like to do things. They want to feel like, oh, I got this listing in, or I got this ready to close and we're going to get paid. So they like paperwork. Agents do not. So if you get an admin that doesn't like paperwork, it's just not going to work. And we've learned that the hard way. We used to just hire people based on how I felt about them, which is not a good thing. And they don't last very long because I like them as a person, but then when we ask them to do their job, they just can't do it. It's just not in their wheelhouse. So
We've had the same issue. So if you had to start all over again, turn back the clock, what would you do?
oh gosh.
And how would you do it?
What would I do? I would buy more houses earlier, like earlier in my life. I would have taken more financial classes to understand what is appreciating asset and what's not. And I think nobody teaches that anymore. And our parents didn't know. My parents didn't go to college. My dad was a mechanic. My mom worked at Safeway. So nobody had a way to teach me on how to build wealth. And so I had to go out there and learn it myself. So I really enjoy teaching our people about wealth because I want them to be very successful. I want them to live big lives. So I would have bought more assets earlier on. I would have taken more risks because when you're younger, you have the ability to make up if you lose, which I've lost too. I haven't always won. It's been some valuable lessons. I would have a little more confidence in myself. I think getting started when you're getting something new, you feel like, can I really do this? And that's just, your negativity talking to you, getting rid of that. You could do anything you want to. You just have to be driven. You have to find the right people to help you. And don't be afraid to ask for help. I have a lot of people who are like, I don't want to ask because I'll sound stupid. I'm like, no, you don't. You actually sound intelligent.
Yeah.
If I don't know something, I'm going to say, gee, Dan, unfortunately, I don't know that answer, but I know who to ask to get you the correct answer. Whether that's the building department or Public Metro or whoever that is, doesn't mean I'm dumb. It just means I haven't come across this situation before.
Absolutely. One of the things we've talked about is having our people integrate into the community, transcend your own self. Talk a little bit about how important it is for your staff, like they're here today, being ambassadors for Keller Williams,
Yes.
as they would be ambassadors for DC Security.
Right.
Do you think that connection is important?
It's huge.
Talk
Yes.
about that a little
Yeah. So my team is amazing. When they go out in the community, they represent us as a whole. So I represent them and they represent me. And building those connections with people is the key to long-lasting relationships, right? So I've known Dan, I think Jay was little, so probably 25, 26 years. And so that first time we ever met, right, I think was at the state fair. Yeah. And we met and we talked. And so from that, you and I built a relationship this last 25 years. And, we talk here and there, we see each other at events. But it's really important that if I need something, at one time I did and said, Dan, is this something that you can help me with in our situation? And he said yes, but he already had the relationship with me knowing what is my personality? How do I come across? Like, am I crazy? You may not want to help me. So my people go out and build these relationships with all different, like Jay's going to be hanging out with 28-year-olds. I probably am not. Aaliyah's going to be down. She's in Colorado City. Aaliyah's a golfer. She will talk to every person that plays golf. She knows how to set up tournaments. She is the girl. Like, Aaliyah is like our social media person. She is out there meeting people all the time. So I think when we go out, we're representing each other in a positive way, and they all have amazing personalities. Like, I wouldn't hire somebody that I personally didn't like. So being an ambassador, yes, if we want to do business together, I think big business is relationships. Like, if you're going to build a big business, you want to get out there and meet as many people as you can. And we try and utilize people in our HVAC guy. We have a relationship with him. So every time somebody asks for an HVAC guy, that's how we build our relationships. So it's a two-way street. It's not a one-way. Like, when people are always asking you for a donation or something, but they don't come to us to buy houses, they don't ask if we rent, they don't ask about investments, they don't support any of the things that we're doing, it's very hard to support them. So it's a two-way relationship, but it also builds the confidence that you can do what I need you to do. So when they meet one of my staff and they're amazing, you ask them about the market, they know what the market's doing, you ask them to set up this appointment and you're treated very well. They call back, they get you an appointment, we work things out, what's the expectation today? So it's definitely a two-way street. And if you have a person who's not very nice and they're not representing you well, that one person, especially in Pueblo, could really kill your business, right? We had somebody who came in rude yesterday, and if I would have been there, they would have been escorted out of our building because nobody treats my staff bad. They're always here to help. So I had a conversation with the person that they work for and said, I don't appreciate the way that they came in and talked to my staff. And, we're here to help them, and maybe you should have a conversation with them. Sure. Because it is a bad representation of them.
So do you monitor your competition?
Yes.
And because we look at other security companies right now, so when you monitor your competition without giving away a trade secret,
Yeah.
Do you monitor, they made more sales than we did, why that happened, there's more money flow, the banks are more favorable toward lending to them than lending to us? What do you look for?
So we look, what are they doing as far as attracting business, right?
Is that all marketing primarily?
Yes.
Or is it people?
Both.
Both.
Yes. So the more people you know, most likely if they like you, you're gonna sell them a home or an investment, or just like in this conversation, somebody may say, oh, Jami understands what buying a duplex is gonna do for me. I'm gonna call Jami. So we do watch them. How are they marketing? Are they beating us? Which we've been the #1 agents for 8 years, so it hasn't happened recently. And I'll say that we kill it because of our systems. Everything happens the same. All of our people work the same. We hire great people. So yes, we do watch them and see what they're doing. And everything's changing. Like now that artificial intelligence is coming out, you may find somebody who's going to be really great at that, and they're going to increase their business by using artificial intelligence better than we do. Like, I'm old school. I like relationships. I want to work with people that I like. So what is changing in the market all the time? That's what we need to know. So a year ago, you couldn't have bought a duplex and lived in one side. It was considered an investment property, so you had to have the 25% down. Right. Last year, that changed, where if you occupy it, it's only 5%. That's huge for our people. So we want to market that and make sure that people understand this is a new way to buy a property, to build wealth, and things like that. We're big on education, so we know contracts, I would say, better than most people. I always say better than everybody else, but yes. So we study the contract. There's changes every year. We need to know what those are. We need to know how to negotiate problems. One of the questions that we had talked about is, how do you keep a deal together if you know a problem is starting to happen? Well, you got to know what could happen at this phase of the game. Like, when is it most at risk? And usually that's during inspection, is when the contract itself is more at risk. So what will we do to mitigate those risks prior to getting to inspection? And that's when we're walking through the house and we're saying, if we're going to go FHA, VA, we need to take care of the peeling paint or the handrail, or if you want to sell it as is, then we're going to be a conventional cash buyer, and then tell them what the market looks like for those people.
One last question, because I know you got to head out in a couple minutes. Sure. Social media in the marketplace versus the newspaper. You guys still are in the newspaper. No. Their circulation's like 5,000, and they mail you the paper now.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the connection between artificial intelligence to integrate into social media. Mm-hmm. Is that the new platform?
It is.
For you?
Yes, yes.
And probably for many people.
It's going to be for everybody. I think for every business out there. There's new things that they're not ever going to take over what you're doing, but it's going to help you be more efficient at the things that you need to do. Like yesterday we learned you could tell ChatGPT your personality. So you could literally create a profile that says, this is how Dan and I talk. Like, you're not gonna start, good morning, how are you today, da 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 da, because then they're gonna say, Jamie or Dan did not write this email. So in ChatGPT now, you can go in and tell it, this is more like my personality, this is how I sound. And I didn't know that till yesterday, till I went to the class, and I was like, it's why I don't use ChatGPT, because it just sounds too fluffy, and I'm not really fluffy. I'm usually to the point. And so just learning that one trick now I'm like, I can't wait to get in there and create my profile so that when I'm doing emails or I'm doing descriptions on properties or things like that, it's gonna take over a lot of that going back and forth, of, oh, I need to change this or I need to change that, or I do it in ChatGPT and it doesn't sound anything like me, so I have to ask for it 4 times or 5 times, and then I just say, forget it, I'll write it myself. So going that direction, we don't advertise in the newspaper. My 84-year-old dad doesn't get the newspaper anymore. Like, he looks at it on his phone. So, and that was really the people who were looking at it all the time. So social media is the way to go. Google, obviously Google, getting reviews, letting people tell you how their experience was with you. It can even be just a phone call. Maybe they don't ever hire you for the job, but you could always say, how did this go? And would you mind leaving me a review?
Yeah.
Because maybe it doesn't, maybe it's not a fit, but they're like, I really like that Dan took the half an hour to talk to me about it. And then you can ask for a review. Would you be kind enough to do that? Because people do search reviews. We all do it. Yeah. You look at something, we're gonna go to a new restaurant, we look at the review and be like, are we going or not? Or you'll have a plumber or something, you get on there, and if they have 2-star review, most likely you're not calling them. So I think it's really important to make sure that you're out there and that your story is being told not only by you, but by your people. So you may have gave somebody a new job or a raise, or you may have brought somebody on. I think it's important to make sure that the public knows, what are you doing that is so much better or different than your competition. And I think we know what we're doing right, and we're doing it at a very high level. We just forget to tell people that we're doing it right and at a very high level. So, and then have our ambassadors, which are our past clients, tell other people, this is who I would use, this is why I would use them. I think for my personality, people like you and I, you just want me to tell you straight. You don't need all the other stuff. And you want to know, am I making a good decision? What would you do? How does this look to you? And so then you and I connect really well because we have the same love language, where if somebody needs to be handheld, they're not going to want to work with me because they're going to think I'm very short. Mm-hmm. So then we're going to give them to one of our other sweet agents like Jay or Christy or Cheyenne, Dave. Like, they're all much, I would say, not as high I as I am. So looking at their personality and knowing, but like, tell people what you're doing and tell them what you're doing differently. Like AI, artificial intelligence, I wouldn't have known unless I went to the class. And now how are we going to utilize it to make our listings show up better on social media platforms and Google and those types of things? It's really important. And you're going to be in the, maybe you have a new security system, or maybe you guys do something that nobody else does, or maybe you've had a really good experience where you protected somebody's property. You need them to tell everybody what an amazing job you did.
That's good input. That's something we need to do, and we haven't done that. That's good. Other questions before we conclude this? Go ahead, Ash.
I do have a quick question. I think I overheard you mention something about financial classes that you guys teach.
Yeah.
How does one go about taking up those classes?
So I love to teach financials, so I don't have a class, but I love to teach young people how to look at their money, how can we invest it in real estate, because obviously that's my go-to, but I can also tell you not to spend. Ask my son. I tell him things all the time. He doesn't like it, but we do offer basic financial classes. I can get you a couple books that I like to read that when I was young really changed my life. And I think learning what is an asset and what is not an asset, we get really wound up in things And, you know, like I like having a nice car, but I didn't have a really nice car early on because I knew the end game was for me to be here and not be relying on other people. So one of my biggest fears is that all my grandparents lived to be 100. So I know statistically, hopefully I will live to be 80, 90, 100. I do not want to be at 90 years old and not have the money to go buy groceries or to get the care that I need or choose between my prescriptions and food. It's not going to happen for me. So knowing that early on, I really made a game plan of like, this is where I want to be. This is where I'm headed. We're still going that direction. And I love to work. So that's another plus, is just loving to do things. And I like to collect buildings. So people always say, oh, I collect cars. Great. Your cars are not worth what my buildings are unless they're like GTRs or, you know, Cobra, something like that, where you're never probably going to drive it. It's going to sit in your garage. But for me, somebody else is paying for my asset. I'm not paying for it. My renter is. So I'd be happy to talk to you if you want to learn things like that. They're a lot of fun.
Let's
Yeah.
buy some laundromats.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I would like that. That would be a lot of
Put a
fun.
bar.
Car washes. I like car washes too.
You like car washes
Yes.
too?
What about storage
Yeah.
units?
Yeah, I love storage units.
No, let's do
They're just
laundromats.
expensive.
That's my thing, man. I'm hooked on
Do a
that.
laundromat with a bar right next to it, so it's nuts.
Yes, there you go.
Jamie, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for